Hey, old Plaidman here. I know I'm not rocking any plaid, but I do have this, so I can do this just for funsies. So I've been reading. I'm also trying to prepare for this upcoming baby that I'm about to have. It's coming up in like 3 months. Yeah, we're at the end of January, so February, March, April. So really, it's only 2 months. So that's a thing that's happening, which is a justification for why I'm not doing videos, and sorry about that. I am going to do a couple videos right now. I'll do a video on a book, which is what we're talking about now, which is Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. Apparently it's the fourth book of that he's written in this world, and I can't really get enough. I'm actually a little sad that I have to wait so long to do the sixth book, because I just finished the fifth, which I will do a review about in a sec. But this it's called Best Served Cold. It came out in June 2009. So I'm catching up with what he's done. He has some 3 recent books, which I haven't read yet. And it seems like, and this is kind of an interesting way of gauging the popularity of something, is I use this Libby app, and depending on how available it is, I can see how popular it is. And to case in point, the Josh Brolin book that I did a review about, Under the Hood, there was like a multi-week wait. The only reason I was able to get it earlier is because it's like a library thing. They're like, well, if you listen to it in a couple days, you can have it right now. If it's going to take you longer than a couple days, then you're going to have to wait. And because I can listen pretty fast, I guess, I did that, and that's why I got it a lot earlier. Anyhow, clearly, that was a popular book, fun book. I enjoyed it. Josh Brolin is interesting. His storytelling was interesting. But this is about Joe Abercrombie's Best Served Cold. And if you haven't read any of the other stuff, I don't suggest it, because he has 3 initial books, and those are called The Blade Itself, Before They're Hanged, and Last Argument of Kings. And even though you don't have to, I think it's very, especially with those, you need to read them in order. And then this is kind of a next series, which is, it follows in the story but has different characters. And I think you'll find it a lot more enjoyable if you do that, if you read it in order. I suppose you don't have to, because technically Best Served Cold, it's kind of like the first of its own separate trilogy that's kind of connected. But what's interesting is there are characters and instances and events that happened that are referenced or you even experienced in the other books. So you really should just treat it as if it's the fourth in the series, because it kind of is. Anyhow, this is hyper enjoyable. The short thing about it is the publisher synopsis is springtime in Styria. And I didn't know anything about Styria at all, and it doesn't really matter. But the book does a great job of explaining where it is. And it's like, oh, it's this part of the world. That means war, springtime in Styria, and that means revenge. There have been 19 years of blood. The ruthless Grand Duke Orso is locked in a vicious struggle with squabbling League of Eight. And between them, they have bled the land white while armies march, heads roll, and cities burn. Behind the scenes, bankers, priests, and older, darker powers play a deadly game to choose who will be king. War will be hell, but for Monza Mercado, the Snake of Talons, the most feared and famous mercenary in Dirk Orso's employ. It's a damn good way of making money, too. Her victories have made her popular, and a shade too popular for her employer's taste. Betrayed, thrown down a mountain, and left for dead. Mikado's reward is a broken body and a burning hunger for vengeance. Whatever the cost, 7 men must die. Now, for starters, they talk about her allies include Styria's least reliable drunkard, which is a character who came in the first thing. So it's like, you don't have to read the first 3, but you really should, because it's interesting to kind of be reintroduced to those people. Frankly, I love this. I feel like this guy has something here that is different. He has his own brand of fantasy, and that's kind of hard to come by these days, because, maybe not hard, but it's hard when there's people who copy, or you have people who are like George R. R. Martin, who I admire for what he did, but I also don't like that he can't finish a series. I mean, we're waiting how long for the continuation? And he just did Game of Thrones the show, and then House of Dragons the show, and it's like, dude, just finish your stuff. So that's all frustrating. But for this, you have your main character as a female, which can be done really crappily, but in this case was done extremely well, and I was very happy with how they did it. Secondarily, it's very violent. There is sex, there's gore, there's blood, there's language, there's revenge, and all these things that you kind of want, but it rides this real smooth trek that makes sense. And it also is fascinating because as good of a plan as something might be, it never goes right. It never goes perfectly. And it's fascinating because in a way that is life. Like, you can plan for something, but unfortunately it may not go the way you want, and that is what it is. So, we learn. So, in general, I highly suggest this book. I would give it like, 8 or 9 out of 10. It's just amazing. And for me, it's better to do audio. I haven't read the books, so take that with a grain of salt. But I do listen to audiobooks, and I listen to them on the 1 speed. So I don't fast forward. I don't read at hyper speed or anything like that. It's just really solid, good fun. The weird thing also is, like, I've been thinking, I'm like, I hope they don't make this like a series or books or film, because, and this doesn't happen all the time, but I have it so visually in my head and it is this way, I can't imagine how they would do it in a TV show or a film. Maybe the first series, but this one, because it's so visceral and so intense, you have this problem. Yeah, so anyways, there's that. And then the other thing I want to say is there is this fight, and it's not quite good and evil, which makes it interesting. It is a fight between kind of, I guess, an oversimplification, and it permeates throughout the whole series, but more and more I feel like he's elaborating on it with these stories. It's basically a fight of religion and banking. And that's kind of the two powerhouses that are duking it out. And we primarily get the perspective of the banking, because that just tends to be the thing. And it's very, very fascinating. It's interesting because neither side is good, objectively. Like, both side does horrible things to get their way. And it is kind of interesting how you have physical and literal battles and fights that are tangible and real, and you can taste and sense. And then under all of that is this other fight that it's not a fight between good and evil. It's a fight between religion and I guess you could say the religion of banking. But it is two separate things, and it is very interesting how well the author puts that together. And it made it very enjoyable. So not only do you have a main character who's a female and she's a badass and she does amazing things, but you also have this cadre of supporting characters that are all interesting in their own way and fascinating. And I enjoyed being part of that universe and experiencing that. And I mean, it's not necessarily a movie I'd want my kid to read, but on this, like, if my kid was like 12, then yeah, sure, that you should read that, because it is really interesting and it does have some interesting moral and ethical choices that kind of question you and make you question what's good or not good. So that's what I suggest. Again, best served cold, but I highly suggest you read the other books first, Blade itself, Before They're Hanged, The Last Argument of Kings. I'm going to do another review shortly about the 5th book, which is called The Heroes. Anyways, highly suggest Joe Abercrombie. He's one of my favorite fantasy authors right now, and I'm looking forward to trying to catch up with all of the novels that he's done, because he's done such a great job. It's amazing. It's so enjoyable to listen to. So yeah, that's it. Plaidman out. Talk to you soon. Oh, sorry. Snot Rocket Inc. Love these guys. Love you, Eamon. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.